So big surprise, I'm starting this video with Danny Green. We all know what he does, so I'm not going to go into that too much. But I think his free agency situation is interesting, and I think a lot of it depends on what Kawhi Leonard wants to do. If Kawhi chooses to leave the Raptors, then maybe that makes them go towards a bit of a rebuild, and maybe it involves trading Kyle Lowry because those rumors have been out there. Maybe they'd still try to keep the ship afloat and roll with developing the young guys. I don't know, but depending on what happens with all that, I think that's going to determine whether Danny Green is re-signed by the Raptors or not. They also have Marc Gasol's contract. You assume he's going to accept his player option. But Danny Green's good, and if you thought that his career was going to taper off, which I think the Spurs thought, doesn't seem to be the case because his shooting is really good and all that. If I can think of a team that I would like to see him on if he is not on the Raptors, then I think it'd be cool to see him end up with the Mavericks. They are going to give Porzingis 20-something million or whatever, but even then they're going to have cap space, and if we could get Luka and KP having the floor spaced a little bit more because of Danny Green, that would be good, and it'd be nice to get another teammate of Luka's who doesn't really care about shooting the ball like that. Terrence Ross does care about shooting the ball, and he's having the best season of his career. He could be another Dion Waiters in the sense of this is his moment and it's great, and then once he gets a new contract, things can go south a little bit. Although to be nice, Dion's was more because of injury, but even so, their play styles are similar, right? Terrence Ross is a little reckless and can sometimes be frustrating, but the shots have been going in this season, and I do think he's been a little bit more disciplined with not over-dribbling and things like that. And because the Magic have decisions to make now with Vucevic mainly, and whether they're going to keep him or not, that could make it to where they just can't afford to keep Terrence, and I could picture some team thinking that he could be a source of offense, whether it's off the bench or an off-ball role as a starter. There is a chance that Terrence Ross is now just a solid 15-point guy who can occasionally get hot from three and hopefully not kill you too much on defense, and that's a nice player to have at an affordable price. I think it'd be nice to see him in Indiana. They tried with Tyreke Evans to give that team a scorer off the bench who can help out Oladipo a bit. Didn't really work out. Tyreke has had a bad season, but maybe Terrence Ross could be that guy, and the Pacers have a whole bunch of expiring contracts. Next up, we got the god Satoransky, who might actually be a point guard, but for whatever reason I'm considering him as a 2. It would make sense for the Wizards to hold on to him, because whenever he's been in the game for them, pretty much since they got him, he's been good. His box score numbers do not jump out at you, but when you watch the game and his impact, he just helps them out a lot. And I do think he's a pretty good fit next to Bradley Beal as well, because he's a good passer and he never shoots it unless he's open and all that stuff. But between Thomas Bryant and Bobby Portis, the Wizards are going to have some dudes to sign, and because they have that John Wall contract, they don't have all the luxury in the world to just make a whole bunch of moves. They have to be pretty selective with who they hold on to, and maybe Satoransky will end up somewhere else if somebody else gives him a good enough offer that the Wizards are not comfortable with matching. As for one of the teams that I could picture doing that, at least if I was them, is the Phoenix Suns. We all know what they need. Veterans, playmaking, and defense. Satoransky gives you all three of those things. Devin Booker has made progress on his playmaking, but they still need at least one more guy who can help him out in that regard. Sato could probably do it. Wayne Ellington is killing it for the Pistons. I don't think he's the only reason why Detroit has come alive lately. Reggie Jackson's been a little better. Luke Kennard's finally looking like the player that some people, including me, thought he could. But Wayne Ellington being reckless as hell from three certainly helps. A bunch of teams had a chance to get him at the deadline, really before the deadline. The guy wasn't playing for Miami that much. And it was just weird that nobody was calling up Miami, just being like, hey, can we just get this guy who has kind of transformed teams' offenses a little bit? I know he only puts up like 10 to 12 a game or whatever, but his spacing is so effective, man. I mean, he was kind of a big deal for Miami, where whenever he was in the game, they got him a lot of shots, and the advanced stats liked him quite a bit. I'm not going to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. And again, I don't think he's the entire reason why Detroit's gotten it together a little bit, but he's certainly part of it. And I would love to see him on the Lakers for obvious reasons. LeBron James and shooting, okay? It just works. I don't know why Magic and Rob Pelinka and probably LeBron wanted so many playmakers. I mean, I can understand getting one extra guy who can dribble, but I mean, you got to get floor spacers around that guy, so maybe they'll do that. The last one is Jeremy Lamb, and this one is more taking a flyer on a guy. So he's up to 15 points a game, his efficiency is below average, and he has shown flashes throughout his career of this big guard who can go off the dribble and play in the pick and roll a little bit and shoot threes, but it's never come all the way together for him. But you could argue that he's gotten a little better every season. And I could picture some team just saying, hey, maybe this is the year that he finally puts it all together. Because if he does, then that could be a hell of a bargain, because I don't think he's going to cost that much money. Let's say you get a guy who can be a consistent double-digit scorer, shoot 35, 36% from three, and just be a dude who you can give the ball to and expect good things to happen, and it might not cost you more than like $10 million a season, and that's quite a thing to have. As far as a team for him to end up on, I have no idea.